I'm Prayashi. I'm the SDG Associate for UNDP Northeast. And in the first session, our John sir has already briefed you about how SDGs look in the global sphere. I think we can distribute them later, Pinky. So now in the second phase, we come to how SDGs at the global level, fine, we have made a promise that by 2030 we have to plan for 2030. But how do we adopt it in India? So that's the story that we are going to talk about in this presentation. So the first step when we're adopting something new, although SDGs have been there, so the concept of sustainability has been there, a part and parcel of the development agenda. But when you say SDG, the 17 goals and the 169 targets, we have to kind of have a framework. And for that, we have to make somebody responsible. We need to have an institution which is going to take it forward. So for India, can you take any guess which is that implementing body? Very good. So it is NITI Aayog. So NITI Aayog coordinates all work related to SDGs. And for monitoring, as John sir was mentioning about indicator frameworks, right? So for indicator framework, for monitoring related aspects, we have Ministry of Statistics and Planning. So that is MoSPI. So at the national level, NITI Aayog is the nodal agency for coordinating SDGs. And at the state level, we have the planning department. And within those planning departments, we have certain SDG cells. So some states have a SDG coordination center. UNDP is also supporting the SDG coordination center. And in some states, they have, it's led by a government body itself. So it is an exclusive unit which does all the SDG related work from implementation to monitoring to localization. Okay. Then apart from that, yes, for monitoring, of course, we need certain tools. We have talked about the 17 goals, 169 targets. We have schemes that we have mapped to SDGs, but how do we monitor them? We need a single framework of monitoring, right? So for that, we have a dashboard. We have the India Index dashboard, which NITI Aayog has developed. And we also, in certain state governments, they have developed their own IT-enabled, these state-specific dashboards, where you can actually zoom in and see how a district performs on each of these goals. Okay. And of course, nothing is possible, as we said, that leave no one behind is the principle behind implementing SDGs. So for that, we need partnerships. And partnerships, not just, of course, convergence among the departments, but also with other agencies that are working in the same domain, be it NGOs, INGOs, the UN bodies, or any academic institute. So, yeah. So now this is the overall story of how India has adopted the SDGs. So in 2015, India pledged that we will integrate SDGs in our planning framework, and we are going to monitor and implement the SDGs till 2030. And that's why NITI Aayog came into the picture. It was designated, as I said, as the nodal agency along with MoSPI for monitoring. And nothing is possible without a vision, right? So a vision document for India was formed. And secondly, schemes. So all our schemes, like every department has certain schemes. Education has Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, health has different schemes. So all these schemes are mapped against an SDG target, not just the goal. So what you have to know is which goal is your scheme linked to, and also which target is it addressing. So the 169 targets are there in your booklet. You can map those schemes with your targets. And then after the mapping was done, MoSPI came up with an indicator framework. So the list of questions or the indicators on which monitoring has to happen. And from these 284 indicators that we have, so there are 284 indicators across 17 goals mapped to different ministries, but data is still not available for all of these indicators, and that is a major challenge. Although we have seen improvements that with the improvement of data capturing systems, but to monitor the 284 targets, we do not have disaggregated data. For example, rural, urban, we might not have state-wise or district-wise. So SDG India Index came into the picture here. So India Index, which was started by NITI Aayog with UN support, they said that let's take some of the indicators which are universally applicable across all states and UTs. Okay. And it started with 62 indicators. Now it has, now we have 115. So the first report, which was an attempt to rank all these states on SDGs, was released in 2018. And the last report was released in 2021. I think a lot of you must have also heard about it. And it has around 115 indicators, which are mapped across, I think, 70 targets for now. And these are basically how states have progressed on the SDGs. So each state is supposed to, so there was a guideline that was given out by Government of India that states need to have a vision document, state-specific vision document. Then you have to map your schemes with the SDGs and the targets, which has already been done by planning department that I came to know. And formation of working groups. Of course, an SDG cell has to be in place, which coordinates all the work at the state level. And if possible, even in the district, we can have some kind of a district coordinating cell, SDG cell. After that, monitoring systems need to be in place. So state develops its own SIF, state indicator framework. District indicator framework, as Sir had already mentioned, that some states have also developed village indicator framework to monitor SDGs across villages. And then budgeting, if we see, the 10 states have completed the budgeting part. So here, we know that usually we try to assess the progress of a scheme by how much expenditure is being incurred. But here, in SDG outcome budgeting, we are mapping how SDG outcomes are achieved. And let's say number of scholarships that were given to students. On that performance level, the state governments are issuing, allocating budgets. So that's kind of a SDG outcome budgeting, and 10 states have done it, 3 UTs have done it, and vision documents, around 20 states have already done it. Capacity building, of course, many states are doing it. This is also an example of such an initiative. So capacity building, training of officials, and awareness generation has been done by most of the states and UTs. Yeah. So I just mentioned about SDG Coordination Center, and it's like a PMU which consists of 4 or 5 experts who are working on monitoring, planning, then localization, awareness, capacity building. So they're dedicated personnel who are assigned, and UNDP has support in 5 or 6 states. We have Jammu Kashmir, we have a SDG cell in Nagaland. We are trying also for Mizoram and Haryana, Karnataka, Punjab. Yeah. So these are basically the 5 pillars that the SDG cells work on. First is awareness and capacity building. Then integrating, so as I said, outcome budgeting exercises, this is also done. Localization, which means creating awareness. For example, in Nagaland, we have the Hornbill Festival. So we have an exclusive stall to promote SDGs through quizzes, games. We distribute prizes among children, and then we have a Green Christmas campaign. So those are the localization initiatives that are taken by states. Then resource mobilization partnerships. For example, Karnataka has developed this platform to harness CSR resources, because there is a huge financing gap when we try to implement SDGs on the ground, and we need additional funding. And since Karnataka is the IT hub, so they were able to garner a lot of CSR funding, especially during the COVID pandemic, and monitoring and evaluation. So the first monitoring, when we come to monitoring, we had already learned about global monitoring, global indicator framework. Now we come to national indicator framework, or NIF. And this is actually the Bible of monitoring for India, because it is based on the NIF that states are developing the SIFs. We are also being monitored at the global level through our performance on these indicators. So currently 284 indicators are there, and MoSPI had developed it. And when they were choosing these indicators, a very careful selection was done. A lot of scrutiny was done when we were analyzing, when MoSPI was analyzing the global indicator framework. So first thing is, it has to be relevant to a target. So when we are choosing an indicator, for example, let's say number of space missions done by a country, that is not a priority now for 2030, but it might be a priority maybe in the next 30, 40 years. So first thing is, it has to be whatever indicator that you are choosing for your department also, it has to be mapped to a certain target. Secondly, feasibility in relation with official data. So of course, the data has to be official. It has to be a government source data, or and it has to be measurable in terms of statistical measurement. Then accessibility, and of course it has to be easily understood, and of course it has to be developed through a very consultative process, which means that MoSPI cannot alone develop the indicator. So they had a lot of consultations and workshops with the ministries to develop the NIF. And if you want to see the NIF, you can actually go to MoSPI's website. They have these reports. So the latest one was released in June 2023. And here in page number 260, you will actually find those Excel files. So after the rankings are done, there's a lot of chaos that where have you taken the data from, what is the source of data. So the data is actually in the public domain, and you can have a look at it. It's all in Excel files in that 2023 Sustainable Development Goals National Progress Report, NIF. So I've already mentioned about this, that NIF is used by NITI Aayog for ranking of states, and also states have contextualized and kind of adopted the NIF in their while developing their SIF, or the State Indicator Framework. For example, when we were doing Jammu Kashmir said that we don't want to monitor what is the productivity of rice, which is mentioned in NIF. We want to do horticulture because that is our forte, that is our strength. And how much are we able to garner revenue from there? So that is what is important. So we will monitor that. So for Meghalaya, it might be different. For other states, it might be different. So SIFs are more state specific and more contextualized. And when we come to Meghalaya, so I'll just, because we are very short on time, we'll just look at some of the indicators which to see Meghalaya's performance on the latest progress report of the MoSPI. So these are all the indicators under goal 1 and the map target. So first of all, I just want to highlight how do we number an indicator. So if you see 1.3.1, that is something that is of importance to health department. Percentage of households with any usual member covered by a health scheme. So 1 is the goal. The first number is the goal. The second number, 1.3, is the target 3 under goal 1. So that is already there in your pocket books. And serial number 1 is, of course, the indicator number 1 under SDG target 1.3. So that is how we number these indicators. Then we have number of self-help groups, number of population which have received PMMVY. So all these are goal 1 indicators. So I just took one of the indicators, the insurance one, and we find that in among all the states of India, Meghalaya is somewhere at 69% as per the latest NFHS report, which has kind of improved. So I think it was around 35% during 2015-16 and has improved remarkably in 2019-21. And Meghalaya is somewhere in the top 10 states in this indicator, which is a good sign. But what is it that Rajasthan is doing, which has made it climb from around 20% to almost 85% plus? So we need to understand those kind of intricacies. I don't know, but probably if we can learn from others. That's what SDGs also talk about, peer learning, what fostering competition between states, but also healthy learning. So second indicator we have is any representative from social welfare? No. So social welfare, I'm sure PMMVY scheme is there. So here also Meghalaya is in the top 10 with almost 90% coverage, and the top state is Madhya Pradesh with 94%. And India, any questions, please feel free to ask. Then under goal 2, agriculture department, I think we have some officials. So under goal 2, we have again different indicators like children under 5 years who are underweight, percentage of beneficiaries covered under NFSA, agriculture productivity of wheat and rice. So here some indicators are there. So if you notice that 2.1.1 underweight coverage of beneficiaries under NFSA, the figures are better than the country average, and overweight is actually slightly more for Meghalaya, if you notice, it's 4%, and for India it is 3.4%. So this is actually kind of a new insight. Why is it happening that children are becoming overweight? Wasting is 12.1%, and anemia also is quite high, even though it's 53.8%. As per the recent report, still it's quite around half of the pregnant mothers are anemic. Yeah, so here again, agriculture productivity of rice is 2,741 kg per hectare, and net sown area is low, 25.24%. So it might be because we have a hilly terrain in Meghalaya, and that's why probably the net sown area is less. I don't know, but that might be a probable reason. Whereas for India, the primarily agrarian country, so it has around 77% of its land under cultivation. So again, these are different targets and indicators, which you'll find in the NIF Progress Report 2023. You can have a look. Health again, if we see percentage of births attended by skilled health personnel. So anybody from health who would like to discuss on why or what is the current situation now for Meghalaya? Any anecdote you would like to share? So it's 64% and India is at 89.4. I think it's in the top 15-20. So any experience why, is there some kind of a challenge that why we have any, I think we have health department officials there. So what are the challenges that you face? Anything, why is is there any problem on the ground? Like maybe it's difficult for medical personnel to travel to a particular place. Commutation is the problem. Come on, I want some inputs from you all. It's supposed to be a give and take process. I'll also learn from you. Please, sir.
Actually, ma'am, as far as I know, actually, one of the reasons is that many of the women they prefer this. Actually, many of them do not prefer to go to the hospital.
Okay.
That's one thing, and they prefer to have a delivery at home. Probably it is the ignorance of this of the health benefit and its benefit.
So maybe it's more of a cultural problem here. That's what. Thank you so much. Then another indicator is suicide mortality, and I think this is taken from the National Crime Records Bureau. So anybody from police, law will have an idea. And the suicide mortality rate is comparatively in a good position, 6.9, almost 7 suicides per 1 lakh population, and which is almost half that of India's figure. So education department will be familiar with the NAS survey. So that is one of the indicators. The National Achievement Survey, which talks about how the proficiency of students in the learning outcome. So in English and math, that is only for language and numeracy, MoSPI and 7%. So only 7% of the students have numeracy skills. The National Achievement Survey that is telling us. And enrollment, if you look at the secondary level, we find that it is kind of declining, and it is mostly the case with India as well. completion rates also, we find that the completion rate is much higher at the primary level. And of course, as we move up to higher classes, the rate kind of falls down. And that might be because of migration, or of course, for girls, it might be due to some social barriers. Yeah. And then this is goal 11. So goal 11 talks about sustainable cities and communities. So here again, road accidents. The figures for Meghalaya is around 8 injuries per 1 lakh, 7.98 injuries per 1 lakh population, whereas for India it is 27.2. And these are some of the other indicators under goal 11. Yes. Percentage of waste processed, number of good air days. In fact, the PM level, particulate matter level for Shillong is very low, and the number of good days means the PM levels, that is the pollution matter, is much lower compared to all the other cities of the Northeast. Gangtok tops the list with 100%, which means all days are good days. 97% for Shillong, and Guwahati, where I come from, is absolutely worse with 51%. So again, for goal 12, which talks about sustainable consumption, mostly related to agri department, food and civil supplies, you can have a look at the indicators later. Goal 16 is about peace and justice. So how are we monitoring them? We are measuring it through cases reported against women, crimes against women, against children. Then for law, we are seeing what is the sanction strength of judicial officers at the district and subordinate courts, and how many judges are there per lakh population. Okay, now we come to the second part of the presentation, that is the SDG India Index. And how many of you have heard about this index? If anybody has heard, can you raise your hands? Okay, only one? Nobody else? Okay, so this is actually very interesting, because a lot of media coverage has been done, and it's like a competition between all these states. It's like it's not like the exam, but it's somewhat kind of states take it very seriously, and there have been many workshops where the chief minister or the chief secretary has presided over to discuss the progress of SDGs in their respective states with the NITI Aayog. So as I said in the beginning, the 2018 was the first report of SDG ranking for India, and there were 39 targets and 62 indicators only. But now in the version 3 report, we find that there are 70 targets which are mapped against 115 indicators, which means that we have more data on some of the indicators that is why we have been able to kind of increase the indicator coverage. And what is the sole purpose of India Index? Monitoring SDGs across states, then bring about competition, but healthy competition, and peer learning. Okay. So, and the data for all these indicators is taken directly from the national level surveys, and 80% of the indicators are outcome based, which means because states have different schemes, right? So we had to, NITI Aayog had to develop indicators that are very much outcome based, because if the schemes for different states can be different. Maternal mortality, to curb maternal mortality, let's say Assam has a different scheme. So we need to monitor outcomes instead of the progress of the schemes. Okay. So I'll just show the India Index dashboard. So anybody can access this. It's in the public domain, sdgindiaindex.niti.gov.in. And this is how it looks like. Mithun, can you come closer? It is not working. There is no, I think we're far, that's why. So states are categorized into four categories. The first is achiever. So anybody who scores 100, it's like how students compete for an exam. So anybody who gets 100 is an achiever in that SDG. We do not have an achiever state yet. States with a score of 65 to 99 are front runners, which you can see. Those are the states which have green. And then states which are performers are the yellow ones. So we find that the central belt and somewhat the northeastern states are within 50 to 64 marks. And aspirants are the most backward. I would say the states which have performed the least, the poorest states. So we also have aspirational district program. I mean, a lot of you might know, which is focusing on the backward districts. So aspirant states is also other states which are falling behind on the SDG goals. So if we look at that Kerala is at the top, and here you can see that it is actually above the India average. So India's score in total is 66 out of 100, and Kerala is at 75. It was at 70 in the last edition. And if you want to look at Meghalaya, you can just So yeah, Meghalaya's picture on the SDGs looks something like this. So goal 1 is green. Goal 2 is red. So goal 1 is green, means it's a front runner SDG. It has got a score of 77. And goal 4, which is education, infrastructure goal 9. Those are the priority indicators as per the India index. And if you want to have a deeper look on why these goals are red, you can actually go to the indicators. I'll just click on this. Yeah, so the indicators are here, the numbers are here, and individually you can look at that where are we falling behind. So as per this index, we find that Meghalaya has performed the best in goal number 10, which is reducing inequalities among gender, among marginalized groups. Also, to some extent, goal 12, goal 6. You can also scroll across the different goals individually and see the indicators performance. This we have already covered. 2020, 2019, there are more greens, which means we have gone up the ladder for many of the states like Maharashtra, then Gujarat, and the Northern Belt as well. It has a score of 60, and it has actually improved by 6 points since the last edition. So this is India's progress on different goals. So SDG 2 and SDG 5 is aspirant in the red category. And for Meghalaya, we have already discussed. I'll share this presentation with you so that you can go through all the individual indicators and the sources. And the last part is how do we improve localization? So first thing is create awareness. I think we went to the survey forms and we found that first of all, we need to create awareness because most of us, we do not talk about SDGs a lot now, but there has been a lot of what do you call, lot of emphasis currently, as we are just 7 years away from 2030 to achieve the goals, and then aligning our schemes with the different goals and assigning them targets, then developing indicators to strengthen our monitoring, then prepare the SDG outcome budget so that we see how how we are performing against different outcomes, and of course building partnerships so that no one is left behind. So that we are prepared for SDGs in India. Now we have a short quiz. Pinky and Munmi Iba will be coordinating for this. So I request my colleagues. Pinky and so I hope all of you have internet. So you'll have to just go to Google and type menti.com, menti.com, and type this code. So,
yes, one was the trial question. So just divided it.
So we have two groups, okay? Group A and Group B. You are all a team. You are all a team. And so whoever can shout the loudest will be the winner.
Numbers as per the question.
So this is Team A, Team B. Okay, so the first question was a trial question. We'll go to the second question. I also stop.
This team A now. This team A, this team B. B has answered.
So, what does NIF stand for, and how many indicators are there? I think Team B is the loudest, so they are getting the points. Team B, 10 points. Next question. Come. So NIF, 284 indicators, National Indicator Framework. Okay. Third question. Which government body is responsible? Oh my God, they are very loud. You'll have to buck up.
So this is the right answer.
No.
NITI Aayog. They said NITI Aayog.
No, but this is wrong because NITI Aayog is only the coordinating body. Monitoring is MoSPI.
Yeah, he mentioned MoSPI. We mentioned
Okay,
MoSPI, yeah.
Okay, but they were not that loud, but still we'll give it to them because some of them have mentioned MoSPI. So Team B again 10 points.
So you can wait for the options. There are options. And then
Okay,
you
this
can
is not related. We are not going to mark it, but we want your opinions on this. What can be the obstacles of achieving SDGs in India? So Team A, say anybody wants to say, and Team B, one of you come. And John sir will decide who has given the best answer, and we'll give bonus 20 points.
So now you have the time to match up the score. Team B.
So Team A, who wants to come up? You can just Team A, sorry. You can mention 2-3 challenges. Please come here, ma'am. No, you have to come.
She can stand there and say.
Please introduce yourself and please. Hi, sir. Lack of convergence, very good point. And anybody from Team A?
The more point you give, the more point you get.
Lack of monitoring also at field level.
Lack of monitoring at the field level. Any more from Team A? Not ma'am, but any other voices?
Okay.
Done?
That's one of the core infrastructure that we have in the different level.
Infrastructure of?
Core infrastructure.
Core infrastructure.
Responsibility.
Core infrastructure.
There can be more, no?
What did you say?
Accountability.
Accountability.
Team B. We can move to team B. Fun constraint. Anything
Another
else?
one could be like lack of information that we have such development goals to be achieved. In rural pockets of India or in our state, many of the people don't know. So to say, even those who are staying in Shillong, they don't know. And I bet like even in planning level also, some might not be knowing like how we are going to achieve it.
Excellent point. Lack of awareness. Next.
Lack of commitment in implementing.
Lack of commitment.
On whose side?
Just elaborate.
Some more?
Road connectivity. I mean, the farm road leads to the rural areas, the interior areas.
Yeah.
And the teams.
Connectivity.
Connectivity.
Issues.
Okay. Any more points? You can.
Corruption.
Corruption at all levels. I'm just asking, just elaborate the point.
Wonderful.
They're having fun.
So these are all your answers, not ours.
So, sir, now.
I think, all those points are very relevant. But, working with the government, the different state governments and also the national government, what we have realized is one of the key challenges is lack of reliable and timely data. So, any decisions that you make, you need to have reliable and timely data. For example, even bringing out, Northeast SDG district index.
Last
That
question.
we are working on, of course, only 8 state governments here in the Northeast and more than 120 districts. It's been so challenging for us. Now, once the data is available, then the policy makers are able to see where are the gaps, and accordingly, they can devise relevant schemes so that those gaps can be bridged. So, one of the most critical challenges or an obstacle for achieving SDG is basically lack of reliable and timely data. But whatever points that you have said, those are also very, very relevant. Lack of convergence, yes, convergence, coordination. So left hand doesn't know, what right hand is doing, and right hand doesn't know what left hand is doing. So SDG basically, encourages that kind of interaction, interactivity. So if you ask me to score, let me be, very frank with you that, I can't say that, group A is the winner or group B is the winner, because the points that you have mentioned are, relevant points. So I can divide the score into 10.
Yes, great. 10.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
last question?
Last question.
One more question.
There is one more.
There's one more.
Last question. sir. Last question bonus points is कोई 50 plus 50 plus 50.
Plus 50.
Last question.
Last question.
Just do it.
So last question, mega jackpot question for 50 points. So this is
And you have to be loud and right. Okay.
The indicator percentage of births attended by skilled health personnel is linked to which SDG target? 3.1, 2.1, 15.1.
3.1.
3.1.
So,
And your answer?
Big loud, what did you say? 3 point?
They are saying 3.1. So what is your answer?
2.1.
2.1. Okay. Now what is the right answer?
3.1. So, SDG goal 3 is good health and well-being.
Yes. 3.1 was the right answer. Okay. I don't have to do it total now.
I think it's very clear. The winners are Group B. But we have another quiz in the post-lunch session. So, Team A can also back up. But congratulations to Team B.
Yes.
We are waiting for them to come.
मुझे तो पता नहीं
Any questions?
ग्लोबल MPI है
You can
In the last two sessions, the presentation that we made, you are most welcome to ask questions. Otherwise, we will show you one small video clip on multidimensional positive index. The session which we will take it in the afternoon.
साउंड का देखना होगा साउंड का देखना
Sound.
You want the laptop to change?
Yes. Do you have your laptop?
होगा की
Question.
When you showed the Meghalaya result, there was nothing mentioned in board number 14.
Oh, that's a very good question. You want to follow up more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is the goal number 14 only for marine or life under ocean, or we are also talking about the nature ecosystem present in the rivers and ponds in Meghalaya?
Yeah, so that's a very valid question actually. So goal 14 currently only coastal states, but MoSPI has decided that only coastal states we will monitor now because it talks about oceanic, mostly oceanic life, maritime life. So that's why, in fact, that is somewhat, that is a loophole, I'd say, that we need to also have inland water ecosystems that need to be monitored. Currently, goal 14 only addresses ocean life. So that's why it's not for Meghalaya, it's mostly for coastal states now. Coastal states.
Can you add this speakers?
In a world of increasingly complex challenges like climate change and rising inequality, people are deprived in many interconnected ways. Our approach must be multidimensional. The Global Multidimensional Poverty Index complements monetary poverty by providing information for poverty reduction policies where they are most needed. Many groups who might not be income poor can, in fact, be multidimensionally poor, impacted by deprivations, such as lack of access to electricity. To make sure we don't leave anyone in those groups behind, it is crucial that they are counted. Produced by the UNDP's Human Development Report Office and the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, the MPI is made up of 10 weighted indicators, grouped in 3 dimensions: health, education, and living standards. A person like Deepa is considered multidimensionally poor if they are deprived in a third or more of the weighted indicators. The MPI resembles a stack of deprivations, and the goal is to reduce that stack to 0. The global MPI shows where poverty hits hardest and how people are poor to better tackle the drivers of poverty, so that policymakers can allocate budgets, coordinate departments, and track progress towards reducing poverty for a better and more inclusive future.